Hello, welcome to Tap That MTG, the show where we tell you everything we know about magic. So it's probably wrong, but fun to talk about. I'm Shauna.
And I'm Leslie.
And today we are bringing you another Commander deep dive into the new Commander decks that are just coming out from Strixhaven. We are so excited about these decks, and thank you for joining us while we dive into them and see what kind of decks these are and what they can do and how can we have some fun with them. Without further ado, Leslie, can you tell us about this deck in particular that we're going to be talking about today?
Yes, absolutely. So in this video, we're going to tell you all about the Strixhaven deck, Silverquill Statement. This deck is all about adding counters to your creatures, flying, but the biggest portion of it is all about group hug politics. So basically, you're going to give your opponents some nice presents that will hopefully make it so that they don't attack you. We'll see how that works because some people really don't like politics. And so when you're playing this deck, you may get targeted because of it, but you also people might just be like, you know what, that's totally fine. And our commander for this deck is Brina, the Demagogue. Did I say that right? Demagogue?
Demagogue?
For 1 and a white and a black, so nice and cheap. She's a 1/3 flyer. And whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, if that opponent has more life than another of your opponents, that attacking player draws a card. And you put a 1/1 counter on a creature you control. 2 1/1 counters on a creature you control. So you're going to get the benefit of 2 1/1 counters. It doesn't have to be on this creature. It can be on any creature, and they're going to be able to draw a card. Card draw is an enticing little treat, and it's a little wordy, but once you kind of figure out, okay, this is the instant that's going to happen, you should be able to play this one no problem. So, yeah, what's the insides of the deck look like?
So we always do a breakdown of the deck based on the mana curve and the creature card types and that sort of thing. So this one, we've got the mana curve on this one is fairly low for the most part. We have 18 cards at 3 with another 11 under that. And then we have 12 cards at 4 and another 19 after that. So it's a typical commander deck. This one's a little bit lower than some of the other commander decks that we've seen lately. And then we get into the color breakdown. We've got 28 white and only 13 black, so it's a little heavy on the white side. And then we've got 9 multicolor cards and 10 colorless, so artifacts and stuff. And this deck has 40 land, which is quite a few, as we have been talking about. And then when we look at the card types, we've got our little planeswalker. We've got one of those. We have 11 enchantments, 10 artifacts, 11 instances and sorceries, 27 creatures, which I love. I'm very excited to see this. And then we have 40 land. So that's the breakdown of this Silverquill deck.
Mm-hmm. And when we analyze decks and when you're building your own decks, it's always good to have kind of some framework or formula that you can go by just to get you started. So that's what we do when we evaluate these decks. We have a formula that we follow, and our formula says that we should have 1 commander, 15 ramp cards or mana generators, 15 removal cards, 13 that will tutor you or give you card draw, 12 high impact cards that will potentially win you the game, and then 10 cards that support or have other win conditions or are on theme. As far as land, we recommend about 34 land in your deck. So this is not a hard and fast formula. It is kind of like a fluctuate in between there. As long as you're close to those numbers, then you've probably got a pretty balanced, solid deck. So we're going to see what this one looks like. What's our first section?
Our first section is the ramp mana generator section. And so the formula, like we just said, is about 15 of those. This deck has only 9. but we'll see how that might be changed up a little bit. So we've got the Oreskos Explorer, which is a 2/2 for 1 and a white, a little cat scout. When it enters the battlefield, though, you get to search your library for up to X planes cards, where X is the number of players who control more lands than you. And reveal those cards, put them in your hand, then shuffle your library. So that is going to potentially get you a 3 land, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. And Boreas Charger for 2 and a white is a Pegasus 2/1 flyer. When it leaves the battlefield, you choose an opponent who controls more land than you. Search your library for a number of playing cards equal to the difference and reveal them. Put one of them onto the battlefield tapped and the rest into your hand. So somebody else is ramping a lot faster than you. You can choose that player and just kind of try and even it up and put some cards in your hand.
Knight of the Wild Orchid is another really great creature that does a similar sort of thing. For 2 white, you get a 2/2 first striker knight that when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a plains card, put on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So really 3 cards that help you get some white mana.
And we have a commander staple, Arcane Signet for 2. You add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Perfect card for any commander deck.
Mind Stone, really useful. It is add a color, it's a 2 mana cost artifact that adds colorless mana, but you can also pay 1 and sacrifice it later on to draw a card, which is really nice.
And Orzhov Signet for 2. This one you have to pay 1, but then you get both a black and a white. So Orzhov has been around for a while, and this is a nice little mana generating rock for you.
Yeah. Then there's this cool card called Spectral Searchlight. It's a 3 mana cost artifact that you can tap and choose a player. That player adds 1 mana of any color they choose. So you could use this for some political sway a little bit if you wanted to, or you could use it yourself.
Yeah. And Soul Ring, nothing wrong. Again, another commander staple. Nothing wrong with a 1 mana cost rock that you can tap for 2 mana. So.
And then we've got this card that came out in the set that Leslie and I are really excited about, the Tempting Contract. It's for 4, a little artifact that at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent may create a treasure token. For each opponent who does, you create a treasure token. So crazy political card, that one.
So our next section is removal. Our formula suggests that you should have around 15 cards for removal. This deck, in our opinion, has 16 that would work for that. The first one is Utter End for 2 and a black and a white. It's an instant and it's just basic exile target non-land permanent. So gets around indestructible and it can target any permanent on the battlefield. That's not a land.
Then we've got Tragic Arrogance for 3 and 2 white, a sorcery. For each player, you choose from among the permanents that player controls. That includes you. So you get to choose an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker. Then each player sacrifices everything else except those ones. So same as you, though, but you are in control.
You get to decide. Bloodthirsty Blade for 2. This is an artifact equipment. Enchant creature gets +2/+0 and is goaded. And what you're going to do is you're going to pay 1 and attach Bloodthirsty Blade to target creature an opponent controls. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. So you're going to play it, you're going to put it on one of their creatures, and they're going to have to attack. That's what goaded means, with that creature each combat if they're able to, and they can't attack you with it. So that's great.
That's annoying. And you can keep doing that over and over again.
Yeah.
Soul Snare for 1. It's an enchantment that can be sitting there, and you can pay 1 and sacrifice it later on and exile a target creature that's attacking you or a planeswalker you control. So it's just there as a little threat.
A little threat.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
We're going to play politics, but we're going to let you know who's boss. Vow of Duty for 2 and a white is an enchantment order. You're going to enchant a creature, and that creature is going to get +2/+2 and have vigilance. They can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. So again, this is going to be something that you're going to do to help out your opponent. Say, I'm going to give you this card. If you choose to attack with it, you just can't attack me. That's the deal we're going to make.
Oh my God, this is so silly. Then we've got Parasitic Impetus, which is a 2 and a black little aura, another enchantment that you're going to enchant a creature and give it +2/+2 and is goaded. So again, on your opponent's creatures, you're going to make them this big, lovely creature, but they can't attack you with it. And whenever it attacks, its controller loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So they have to attack with it. They have to lose 2 life and you have to gain 2 life. It's so mean. You're so mean, Leslie.
Well, do you like Martial Impotence? For 2 and a white. This is another enchant creature, and that enchanted creature is going to get +1/+1 and is goaded, so you're going to buff it up. And when enchanted creature attacks, each other creature that attacks one of your opponents gets +1/+1. So this one is better because it's going to buff up your creature as well as all the other creatures that are attacking. Seems like a fairly decent deal to me.
Sure. Then we have Angel of Serenity. It's a 5/6 flyer for 4 and 3 white. So another reason why we need all this white mana, because we got this card. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile up to 3 other target creatures from the battlefield and or creature cards from graveyards. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to their owner's hands. So it's going to be hard to get rid of this card, and you're getting rid of their stuff. It's being really annoying.
Or bringing back your own, because I like that this has the graveyard ability, because you can take 3 things from your graveyard, put it under it. That will make it so that they don't want to get rid of this, because you're going to get 3 things back.
That's a really good point. I wasn't even thinking about that. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Gideon, Champion of Justice. This is another card that could be in this category or high impact card. For 2 and 2 white, you get a 4 loyalty planeswalker, and he has a +1 ability to put a loyalty counter on him, and that is for each each creature target opponent controls. So he's just going to get really big really fast, potentially, if they have a lot of creatures, especially if they're playing the Quandrix deck. Until the end of turn, Gideon, Champion of Justice, this is 0, becomes indestructible creature with power and toughness each equal to the number of loyalty counters on him. So if he's a 15/15, then he's a 15/15 with indestructible, and you get to prevent all damage that would be dealt to him this turn. So he can't take any damage or lose any of those. And -15, exile all other permanents, which ultimately is his removal portion. So he does lots of good things, and hopefully you can make him really big really fast and then use him for some removal.
Yeah. He's mean. Author of Shadows for 4 and a black. It's a little 3/3 shade warlock. When it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards. Choose a non-land card exiled this way. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. So that could potentially be really a big deal for you.
Yeah.
To use all their good stuff.
You're helping them out, so it's only fair that they help you out. Guardian Archon for 4 and 2 white is a 5/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you secretly choose an opponent. So I would recommend that you write this down so nobody thinks that you're trying to pull one over on them. And then at any point, you may reveal the player you choose. And you and that target permanent you control each gain protection from the chosen player until the end of turn. Activate this only once. So basically it's just like this little, I'm going to choose someone, and then when I feel it's necessary, I'm going to reveal that person, and I have protection from them and creatures they control. So
yeah. So this card, Fracture, has some crazy artwork on it. It's really, really cool. It's for 1 white and 1 black. It's an instant that's destroy target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. I love those kinds of cards.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Lots of options there.
Yeah.
And then Promise of Loyalty for 4 and a white is a sorcery, and each player puts a Val counter on a creature they control and sacrifices the rest. Then each of those creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control for as long as it has a Val counter on it. So you are allowing people to have a creature, it just can't attack you, and you have a board wipe at the same time, but not quite a board wipe. So you're not being too mean.
Yeah, right.
She's I can already tell she's not gonna like me playing this deck.
That's okay. Card draw is our next section. We're going to use these cards to get us some more cards. So formula calls for 13. This deck only has 7 as far as we can calculate for now. So the first one we've got is Oblation, which is for 2 and a white, an instant that the owner of target non-land permanent shuffles it into his or her library, then draws 2 cards. So we're thinking you're probably going to rescue one of your cards with this, one of your creatures with it, and then you're going to draw a couple of cards to hopefully get back to it someday.
Yeah. Coveted Jewel is an artifact for 6, and when it enters the battlefield, you get to draw 3 cards, and then you can tap it to add 3 mana of any one color. So it fits in kind of the mana ramp and the card draw, but really with the ability to draw 3 cards, we thought it fit well in this category best.
Yeah. Then we've got Ambition's Cost, which is for 3 and a black, a little sorcery that you draw 3 cards and lose 3 life. It's worth it.
Yeah. Use your life as a resource.
Yeah.
Secret Rendezvous for 1 and 2 white is a sorcery. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. So again, this is perfect for this deck. It's you and target opponent. You're gonna make friends with that card for sure.
Mm-hmm. Keen Duelist. We have a little 2/2 human wizard for 1 and a black. At the beginning of your upkeep, you and target opponent each reveal the top card of your library. You each lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player. However, you each get to put the card you revealed into your hand. So you'll get 2 cards that turn then. Untap, upkeep, draw. So you do this before you draw.
And Incarnation Techniques for 4 and a black is a sorcery that has Demonstrate, which is a new ability. Basically, when you cast this, you can choose to copy it. If you do, you're going to have to choose an opponent that can also copy it. But hey, we're giving things away for free here, so that's good. You're going to mill 5 cards and then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Just remember that those trigger separately. So you're going to do the first 5 cards and then choose something and then the next 5. And that's just so that you can't choose 2 from that last second 5. So just make sure you do it in order and make a friend.
Yeah. Then we've got Stinging Study for 4 and a black. We both thought this reminded us of that scene in which Harry Potter movie is that where
Professor
what's
Umbridge.
her name? Yes, Professor Umbridge is being mean to Harry.
Ooh.
Cruel.
Don't like this card because it reminds me of that.
Yes. So Stinging Study, 4 and a black. It's an instant where you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. The mana value is the same as converted mana cost, so those terms can be used interchangeably. So yeah, that's losing life, but you get to draw cards. So it's a good thing.
And now we move on to our high impact cards. These are cards that we love to talk about because they are the meat and bones of this deck, and they're going to win you the game or do really good things for you. The formula says we should have about 12. This deck, in our opinion, has 16 high impact cards. So there's a lot of cards that are just like, whoa. So Deathbringer Regent for 5 and 2 black is a 5/6 dragon. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand and there are 5 or more other creatures on the battlefield, you're going to destroy all other creatures. It is a removal card, but we put it here just because you also have a 5/6 flyer on the battlefield, and it's going to be the only one left potentially. So it's super high impact.
Yeah. Ghostly Prison, it's an enchantment that it's kind of removal as well. It's for 2 and a white that creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. We've played against this card before. Once it's out there, it's really, really hard to attack anybody. It's such a pain to deal with because you're trying to attack and have mana to do things with. So
yeah. And then Magister of Worth is a 6 mana cost, 4/4 angel, and it has Will of the Council. And when it enters the battlefield, starting with you, each player is going to vote, and they're going to vote for grace or condemnation. If grace gets more votes, then each player gets to return each creature card from his or her graveyard to the battlefield. Crazy. If condemnation gets more votes, then you get to destroy all creatures other than Magister of Worth. So again, this is kind of like a let's see what the table wants to happen. Gives people some choices, and I don't know if it's going to make you friends, but maybe.
This card is not going to make you friends. Zatalpa Primal Dawn for 6 and 2 white. It's a 4/8. It comes out and yeah, the game is over. It has flying, double strike, vigilance, trample, and indestructible. It's a royal pain for anyone to deal with. So good.
All it needs is a spear that gives it lifelink. And
yeah.
Sunscorcher Regent for 3 and 2 white is a 4/3 flying dragon, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, you get to put a 1/1 counter on Sunscorcher Regent and gain a life. So you're going to get some life gain, he's going to get bigger, and you're just going to keep... He's not going to win you any friends either. Just saying.
No. Deathbringer Liege for 2 and 3 black-white hybrid mana. It's a 3/4 that says other white creatures you control get +1/+1. Other black creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever you play a white spell, you may tap target creature. Whenever you play a black spell, you may destroy a target creature if it's tapped. That is mean. Removal on a stick that's buffing everything up.
Play a white spell,
Gross.
Play a black spell, kill something.
Gross.
Well, I have a grosser card. Teysa, Envoy of Ghosts. 5 and a white and a black for a legendary creature human advisor. 4/4. She has vigilance. She has protection from creatures. And whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, you get to destroy that creature. Put a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Again, another disincentive for attacking you. You want to encourage people to attack everyone else instead of you.
I love the artwork on that card. She's just like, yeah, whatever, dudes.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Come at me, bro.
Citadel Siege. This, for 2 and 2 white, an enchantment that as it enters the battlefield, you choose cons or dragons. The cons option gives you at the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature you control. Or dragons at the beginning of combat on each opponent's turn, you get to tap target creature that opponent controls. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's kind of mean.
Duelist Heritage for 2. This is a jumpstart card, I think it came out in 2 and a white. It's an enchantment, and whenever one or more creatures attacks, one or more creatures attack, you may have target attacking creature gain double strike until the end of turn. So again, a little political card. You can help someone out by giving their creature double strike and helping them with their goals. Or yourself.
Then we've got Nils, the Disciplined Enforcer for 2 and a white. It's a 2/2 human cleric. Looking all snooty there. At the beginning of your end step for each player, you were going to put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature that player controls. Just going to help them out a little. Mm-hmm. But each creature with 1 or more counters on it can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless this controller pays X, where X is the number of counters on that creature. So that could really mess with me.
And if you've watched our Quandrix video yet with all of those creatures with lots and lots of 1/1 counters on it, suddenly they can't attack you because they're putting counters on their own things as well. So, just saying. Combat Calligrapher for 3 and a white is a flying 3/3, and Inklings, which is the first time we've heard of Inklings, can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. However, how are they going to get Inklings? Well, let me tell you, because whenever a player attacks one or more opponents, that attacking player creates a tapped 2/1 white and black Inkling creature token with flying that's attacking that opponent. So if they attack someone else, you're going to give them the gift of some Inklings to attack with as well, and they get to keep those Inklings. So yeah, it's great.
Then the Elite Scale Guard for for 4 and a white. It's a 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, you get to bolster 2. So that means you choose a creature with the least toughness among creatures you have and put 2/1/1 counters on it. And whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it attacks, you get to tap a target creature defending player controls. So you get their big blocker out of the way before you swing in there. It's awesome.
And Orzhov Advocist for 2 and a white is a human advisor 1/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player may put 2/1/1 counters on creatures they control. If that player does, that they can't attack you or planeswalkers you control until the next turn. You're going to definitely make people think, do I want those counters and not attack you, or do I not want to? I've seen this go both ways, but definitely a good high impact card there.
This card, Necropolis Regent, I have played with this card, and this card does some amazing things. They need to get rid of it. It's a 3 and 3 black, 6/5 flyer, so it's a little hard to play, but once it gets out there, it's amazing. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put that many 1/1 counters on it. So even just this one doing damage to a player, it's going to get 6 1/1 counters on it when it does damage.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
Crazy. And the last one in our high impact section is Felici, Fang of Silverquill, 2 and a black and a white. For a vampire wizard, flying. She's a 3/2. She has mentor, which means that when you attack with this creature, you get and another creature, then you put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. So your Inklings, for example, might get bigger if you attack with them. When a non-token creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, create X tapped 2/1 white and black Inkling creature tokens with flying, and where X is the number of counters it had on it. So you've seen that we have lots of cards that can put counters on your creatures, and so this will just help with that synergy.
All right, so now we're into our other cards on theme, cards that support the overall goal of this deck. So the first card we have is this Hunted Lamassu for 2 and 2 white. It's a 5/5 flying Lamassu, which is a very strange looking creature, as you can see. When it comes into play, you get to put a 4/4 black horror creature token into play under a target opponent's control. It's just a horror. It's not a flying horror or anything. So you're giving them a pretty big creature, but you're still able to do stuff with this big thing for cheap.
Yeah. And scholarship sponsor for 3 and a white is a human advisor 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, each player who controls fewer lands than the player who controls the most lands searches their library for a number of basic land cards less than or equal to the difference and puts those cards onto the battlefield tapped. So right away, everyone has the same amount of land moving forward as that person that was ramping up. So everyone's going to be super happy with you at that point, except for the person that had the most land.
Yeah, so there's another getting more land for you piece. Cunning Rhetoric for 2 and a black is an enchantment that whenever an opponent attacks you and or one or more planeswalkers you control, you get to exile the top card of that player's library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. So it might make them think twice about attacking you if you're going to steal their stuff.
Yeah. And Infernal Offering is a 4 and black sorcery, so 5 mana cost sorcery. Choose an opponent. You and that player each sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrificed a creature then This way draws 2 cards, so you're giving card draw to that person. You can get rid of something if they have something big, or you can say, you know what, this person has a lot of tokens. Would you like to draw 2 cards and sacrifice one of your tokens? So that's kind of maybe a nice thing. You can also choose an opponent, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then that player returns a creature card from his or her graveyard to the battlefield as well. So both of those happen. They do happen in the order that's on the card, so they could potentially return whatever it was that they sacrificed.
Lots of wheeling and dealing there.
Wheeling and dealing.
Together Forever for 2 white. It's an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you support 2, and that means you put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. You can pay 1 and choose a target creature with a counter on it. When that creature dies this turn, return that card to its owner's hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's never leaving.
And everyone loves a good curse of disturbance for 2 and black. This is an aura curse that you're going to put on a player, and whenever enchanted player is attacked, you get to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. So if they want some zombies, they'll attack that person, and they might help you out as well. So that's good.
Oh boy. Stalking Leonin for 2 and a white. It's a 3/3 cat archer that when it enters the battlefield, you secretly choose an opponent. You reveal the player you chose, and you get to exile the target creature that's attacking you if it's controlled by the chosen player. And you get to only do that once. So it's similar to that other card that we saw. Letting you protect yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Selfless Squire, nice little card for this. Good support. 3 and a white for Human Soldier 1/1. This has flash, which means you can play it as an instant, which usually means you should play it as an instant. So when Selfless Squire enters the battlefield, you prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn, and whenever damage that would be dealt to you this turn is prevented, put that many 1/1 counters on Selfless Squire. So this is something that you're going to play when someone's attacking you with a whole bunch of stuff. They've just made all of their things unblockable with their Herald and or something like that, and then you're going to prevent all that damage and make Selfless Squire into a big beefy dude. So
crazy. Windborn Muse for 3 and a white. It's a 2/3 flyer, and creatures can't attack you unless their controller plays 2 for each creature he or she controls that's attacking you. So yeah, that's again makes it hard to attack when you have to pay all this extra mana to do it.
Yeah.
Very annoying.
Pendant of Prosperity. When it enters the battlefield under your control, it enters the battlefield under the control of an opponent of your choice. And then pay 2 and tap it to draw a card. Then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So Pendant of Prosperity's owner also draws a card, and then that player may put a land onto the battlefield. So basically you're just giving them a gift that they can use if they want. If they choose to use it, you get the same benefit. They may never choose to use it, so you have to again be political and decide who do you think might help you in this game.
Victory Chimes. This is cool art on here. It's a artifact for 3 that you can untap it during each other player's untap step, and you can tap it so a player of your choice adds a colorless mana. So again, very political. How do you want to use it?
Could be you, could be them. Debtor's Knell for 4 and 3 hybrid mana. So hybrid mana means that it can be paid with either a white or a black in this case. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get to put a target creature card in a graveyard into play under your control. Doesn't have to be your graveyard, it can be anyone's graveyard. So potentially high impact. The only reason we put this in other is because there's also a potential that nobody has any cards left in their graveyard or everything got exiled for whatever reason. So
Ink Shield is a little instant for 3, a white and a black, that says prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn. For each 1 damage prevented this way, create a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. So that might be really useful to have out at the same time as you have that little squire.
Oh yeah,
you get to do that again.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's crazy. And Bold Plagiarist for 3 and a black is a 2/2 with flash. Again, you're probably going to play it in response to something, so let's see what. Whenever an opponent puts one or more counters on a creature they control, they put the same number of that kind of counters on Bold Plagiarist. So you're going to do this in response to somebody adding counters to something that they control, and then this guy is going to get big as well.
And it's funny, the picture that one dude is making a big fractal wolf kind of thing. And this one's like, okay, I get one too.
Really, they're kind of these. The more I'm reading this, the more I'm like, these two decks were made like to play against each other.
Yeah. I know a good idea when I see one.
Yes.
I'm going to steal it. Bane the Broker. For 2 and a black, it's a 3/3 legendary human warlock that you can tap and sacrifice a creature, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature, or you can tap him and remove a counter from a creature you control and create a treasure, or you can tap him and sacrifice an artifact, create a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying, or you can pay 3 and a black and untap Fane the Broker. So lots of things going on with this guy. What are you going to do?
I guess if you have enough mana, you can tap and untap him multiple times. So
do lots of stuff. Yeah.
Lots of stuff.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, moving into our land section. As we said, this deck has 40 land. Our formula recommends 34, but we will start off with our 6 colorless land that kind of maybe do other things. We have Rogue's Passage, Mikakoro, Center of the Sea. I don't know if I said that right. Bajuka Bog, Barren Moor, Myriad Landscapes, and Temple of the False Gods. We have Cycling. We have Make Things Unblockable. We have Each Player Draws a Card, which is great. We have Exiling all cards from target player's graveyard. Again, be careful with that because you can steal from people's graveyards, so you might want some of that stuff. And then, of course, some mana fixing with going and searching for stuff. So 6 great colorless cards that do other things for you, which is awesome.
And then we have our 4 gold-colored cards, land cards, one of them being Study Hall, which is new to this set, that you can tap for. These all tap for, Study Hall taps for colorless mana, but you can add mana of any color, pay 1, and you can use that to cast your commander and scry at the same time, which is nice. Command Tower taps for any color in your commander's identity. Exotic Orchard, that's one that taps for colors that your opponents control. And Opal Palace, which again can be for creatures that share a color with your commander, get a counter on them, which is really nice.
Awesome. And of course, no commander deck would be complete with things that tap, without things that tap for 2 colors. We have Silverquill Campus, Tainted Field, Caves of Kolos, Orzhov Basilica, and Temple of Silence. They all tap for either both or either. Some of them have other abilities like scrying when they come in or paying to scry, which is great. Orzhov Basilica will tap for both, but you do have a special cost when it enters the battlefield. And then last but not least, we have a nice little white card with Cycling, Secluded Steep. So it has card draw built into it if you don't need it as a land. And then we have 14 plains and 10 swamps in this deck, which gives you some ability to tweak the deck and make it your own. So.
So thank you for sticking with us this far. We've come to the end, but we've got some tweaks that we are wanting to suggest, some little ideas that we thought you might like. And I'm going to let Leslie talk about this first card.
Okay, because I like it. Yeah, so tweaks, these are just basically 10 or so cards that we think might make this a little bit better. And Shauna knows how much I love this card, so thank you. 3 and a white and a black for a 2/5 Elder Dragon with flying and double strike. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may choose to Each mode must target a different player. So I like the politics that's already built into this. You're not going to be able to pick on one person in particular, and some of these are great. So target player creates a 2/1 white black inkling creature token with flying. You're giving people something. Target player draws a card and loses a life, and target player puts a 1/1 counter on each creature they control. All super awesome things.
One of them being you.
One of them could be you, but if you wanted to, you could give it to somebody else. But that's why you have to choose two different people as well, so that you can't, like, be gluttonous. Anyways, I love this one. I mean, who knows? I would probably put a 1/1 counter on each creature I control, and then give somebody something else small.
Yeah. Small. Then we have Silverquill Command, which is a sorcery for 2 and a white and a black that you get to choose 2 of these. So target creature gets +3/+3 and gains flying until end of turn, or you can return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, or target player draws a card and loses a life, or target opponent sacrifices a creature. So lots of versatility there, and you get to choose 2 things out of those 4.
So another card that kind of goes with the theme of, I don't want you to attack me, please attack everybody else, which is ultimately what this deck kind of tries to do, is Sphere of Safety. It's one of those cards that is very much like Ghostly Prison. So for 4 and a white, it's an enchantment, and creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless their controller pays X for each of those creatures, where X is the number of enchantments you control. There is a decent amount of enchantments in this deck. You add this, you have another enchantment. So yeah, I think that that's a good addition to this deck if you have it.
And then here's another enchantment, an Armistice, which is for 2 and a white. You can pay 3 and 2 white, and you draw a card, and target opponent gains 3 life. So this will help you with your card draw, help you with your number of enchantments, and you can be a little bit of political there with giving somebody life for that.
And then Scheming Symmetry is only a 1 mana cost sorcery. You choose 2 target players. Each of them search their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top of it. So you're getting a tutor, you're helping somebody else get a tutor. Again, it plays into the whole political, helping people out. So we thought it would be a good fit.
Yeah. Court of Grace for 2 and 2 white, an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. And at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. If you're the monarch, you get to create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying instead. So becoming the monarch means that at the end of your turn, you get to draw a card. So that might help with the card draw thing. But someone else can become the monarch if they attack you. But you've already set it up so that people aren't going to be attacking you. So you're going to stay being the monarch for a little while, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Is the plan.
Or you can allow them to come in so that they can get some card draw if you wanted to be nice to them too. So. Archaeomancer's Map for 2 and a white is an artifact. This is in some of the other decks, and we thought it might be a good fit for this one as well, to help with some of that mana ramp. So when it comes in, you're going to search your library for 2 basic land cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your opponent's control, if that player controls more lands than you, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So it's going to help you with your mana ramp if you feel like you don't have enough ramp. Or as we've kind of said in other ones, and we'll, I guess, say here as well, it's a lot of times better to have mana ramp in your hand or artifacts like this than just a land. So you can replace a land with this and then get ongoing benefits.
Blot Out the Sky. We thought this would be perfect for this deck. It's a little sorcery for X and a white and a black that says create X tapped 2/1 white and black inkling creature tokens with flying. If X are 6 or more, destroy all non-creature, non-land permanents. helping you get rid of some stuff and make a whole bunch of little flyers.
But it is also going to destroy all of your enchantments and things like that are
True
keeping
enough.
you safe. So be careful if you're going to play that one.
Yeah.
All right, so then we have a double-sided card that I think was made for this deck, just not put into it because, you can't do all the work for you. Chalet, Dean of Radiance for 1 and a white is a flying vigilance 1/1, and you can tap it to put a 1/1 counter on each creature that entered the battlefield under your control this turn. Or you can choose to play it with its other side, which is Embros, Dean of Shadows, for 2 and 2 black. You get a 4/4, and you can tap him to put a 1/1 counter on another target creature. Then Embros, Dean of Shadows deals 2 damage to that creature. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it dies, you get to draw a card. So that will help you with your card draw. You could potentially use it as removal. There's all kinds of things that you could do with this card, and they all fit really well with what this deck does. So good add here if you have.
Then we have a Crystalline Crawler that is a little construct creature. It has Converge, so it enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. So 2 probably in this case. And remove a 1/1 counter from it and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. But then you can also tap it and put a 1/1 counter on it. So it's just going to keep helping you out there. So we thought that would be a good one to have too.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of our tweaks. There are, of course, a whole myriad of other tweaks that you could possibly do, and we would love to hear from you what you plan on doing with this deck or what you think people should do with this deck. That's it for this time, but thank you so much for watching and listening. We're available on YouTube and podcasts, wherever you like to download those. Feel free to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. We'd love to hear what you think. So until next time, tap those magic cards and
have fun doing it.
bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.